Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is the Drafted Up Podcast. That's Nick. I'm Theo. Today, we preview Week 7 of the NFL. We'll go through every game here and get that going. Before we get started, though, Twitter at DraftedUp_pod. Like, rate, subscribe, review, follow over on Apple, YouTube, Spotify. Just search Drafted Up Podcast. We'll be there. We're also going to give you our starts of the week today. So, how you doing, Nick?
Doing good. Long time no see, Fennard. Long time no see.
Literal 20 minutes ago at the movies.
Yeah, just seeing you at the
come
theater.
Here to record.
Yep, going to be a later night for us, but we'll get it done.
Should have just recorded in the parking lot.
I don't know if the AMC would have been okay with that.
No, we would have been done. There would have been a movie still going by the time we finished. Yeah,
that is true.
All right, starts of the week before we dive into Week 7. Who you got at quarterback?
Going right into it. All right. Going with Patrick Mahomes at San Fran. Going into the year, it would have been crazy to say Patrick Mahomes had been questionable to be started, but he hasn't finished as a top 12 quarterback, I think maybe once this year. And he's got a tough matchup in San Fran, but I think it's going to be a shootout, dude. So I'm all in on Kansas City and San Fran this week. A little foreshadow, but I'm really trusting Mahomes this week. I think it's gonna be a big game for him. Kelsey, the offense in general. Kareem Hunt's gonna be back again. So, hell yeah, dude.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire also gonna be back.
That is true. Healthy.
I'm gonna go to the other team in that game, and my start of the week is Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. Chiefs games are close. This is going to be in his hands. Jordan Mason is practicing, but he's banged up. So this all falls on Brock Purdy's shoulders. Chiefs are middle of the pack when it comes to quarterbacks and fantasy points. And Brock Purdy's been relatively good this year. He's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So I do like him versus Kansas City. Like you said, it's going to be a tight game. So the opportunity to throw the ball around the backyard there is going to be there for Brock Purdy.
I agree. Yeah, it seems we like both these quarterbacks for the same reason in the same game. So makes sense to me. Okay, I'll keep it going here with running back. My running back is J.K. Dobbins versus Arizona at Arizona. So another game on the road. Arizona is just a great matchup in general for fantasy, and their defense is horrendous. And look what happened to Gus Edwards. He's not there.
He's on IR.
Yeah, he's gone. So the backfield now is J.K. Dobbins and Kamani Vidal. And Vidal's not going to get a huge workload. So J.K. Dobbins is going to get a ton of work this week.
Well, hopefully he can handle it. You don't need him getting hurt.
I agree. He's looked pretty good this year, minus the explosiveness not being there. But there's a chance this game's just a blowout, and they're running down the throats of Arizona. So we don't know what Marv's up in the air. So that whole offense is going to be questionable. And the Chargers, they're rolling, dude. They're looking decent this year, for sure. Better than I thought they'd be.
My start of the week at running back, Miami Dolphins, Raheem Mostert.
Whoa.
They're playing Indianapolis, and the Colts are a run funnel. They're a pass funnel, too. You can do whatever you want on the Indianapolis Colts defense. Miami can't pass the ball worth a damn, though. And if they want to open things up for Devon Achane, it all falls in the hand of Raheem Mostert. If Raheem Mostert gets going, it's going to open up the possibility for Miami's offense to do anything, especially Devon Achane. He needs to get going. He should play. He's coming off concussion protocol. But Mostert last week is averaging 4.2 yards a carry. He looked good, or 2 weeks ago they had a bye last week. But Mostert, he's coming back. He's healthy. For Miami to get anything going offensively, he's got a jet start that. So I have confidence you can put Raheem Mostert in your lineup this week against bad Colts defense.
I mean, we're only coming off last season. He was RB2 on the season. So we're not far removed from him being an elite fantasy option. So
yep,
I think it's going to be bounced back at some point. It's just depending on if it's going to be with Tua or without Tua. And that offense has been struggling. Who's your receiver this week?
My wide receiver, Zay Flowers of the Baltimore Ravens. They are facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night. Zay Flowers, we've been saying it on the podcast, this man is beating green matchups. The Bucs are one of the worst in the league at giving up fantasy points to the wide receiver position. And the Baltimore Ravens, this offense, passing game wise, now runs through Zay Flowers. He is the number one option now. It's no longer Mark Andrews. It's not Isaiah Likely. It's not Rashad Bateman. This is Zay Flowers' offense in terms of the passing game. You can continue to start him with confidence. After 2 great weeks in a row, he should complete the turkey here for the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree. He's got a ton of good matchups coming up too, so he's super startable the next few weeks. I like Zay a lot this next coming weeks. My receiver is Jameson Williams, Detroit versus Minnesota at Minnesota. It's in a dome, so the weather's not going to be any type of issue. Jared Goff's usually pretty good in the dome, not in Minnesota though, which is very weird.
No.
But I have complete faith in Detroit's offense this year. They have not stuttered once.
Tough to run on Minnesota. So
and yeah, that's what I'm going to get to.
That's how you're going to beat the Vikings.
It's very hard to run on Minnesota, and you guys let up a lot of big plays to receivers, and that's what Jameson Williams is. He's a huge deep threat. He's hit so much this year, and the touchdowns are all there. There's so much to go around in Detroit. You can't stop it. You get worried about covering Amon-Ra, Laporta, Gibbs up front, Montgomery up front. They got 2 elite running backs. Jameson Williams just blows the top off of the defense pretty much every week. He had a dud versus Arizona, but it happens, and that's the game he played the least amount of snaps. So he's broken 16 every other week. He's getting 20 a couple weeks. Jameson Williams is a lock for sure.
Yeah, high-end wide receiver too in points per game so far this year. Williams was also, he almost was my start of the week. Rounding out tight end, I'm going to take the obvious one. I'm going with David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns. Amari Cooper's out of town. Someone's got to yield the passing game in Cleveland because, as much as they'd love to probably just run the ball every single play, that's not going to happen. So Deshaun Watson's going to throw somebody. He has the arm strength to hit a 5-yard route to a sitting David Njoku. He should just rack up a ton of targets, a ton of catches, and do minimal with it. Expect maybe he could go out there and have a 10 for 70, like an elite version of Zach Ertz, essentially, and hope he gets a touchdown. But you can comfortably start David Njoku. He's going to be the passing option in Cleveland.
Yeah, in this tight end market, Njoku's the number one option now in Cleveland. That's the way it's looking. I love that pick. My guy is not the number one option in this team anymore. He's the receiver that you picked, and I'm picking the tight end. I'm picking Mark Andrews versus Tampa Bay. It's going to be a huge shootout in that game, I think. And I think touchdowns are going around a bunch. Obviously, King Henry's going to get his. Zay might get his. Even Mark Andrews might finally get his. He had a touchdown last week, I believe. He did, first of the season. I think it continues this week, but Tampa Bay, I'm looking for the same outcome he had last week versus Washington, around 15. I think he can pull that off again.
Yeah. Hopefully, for Mark Andrews' sake, he gets going. It's a shame to see that he's been a very slow start this year, but
yes,
maybe that accident was a little more harmful than everybody was letting on.
I agree.
All right. First game of the slate, London game. The New England Patriots travel to London to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just stayed there. An over-under of 42. The 1-5 Jaguars are favored by 6 points.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's disgusting. The betting line is just favoring Jacksonville here in a blowout. I don't think they cover that. Drake May did get an MRI on his knee, but he's fine. So, but keep an eye on that. So maybe there's something going on there. Jaguars defense, not exactly great. They don't really pressure the quarterback well, so that might help Drake May a bit. I do ultimately think Jacksonville does win the game, but I don't think they cover this spread. I don't think they beat the Patriots by almost a touchdown.
6 is a lot, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jacksonville ends up pulling this out. They had a lot of dropped touchdowns last week, and I think they come up with... Yeah, 4, and that's a crazy amount. I think they come up with at least 1 or 2 of those this week. Obviously, I don't think Gabe Davis is going to have an outlandish week like he did last week, but I think it's going to go around a little bit more. But no ETN, though, so it's going to be rough in the running game.
Imagine if Gabe Davis caught the 2 touchdowns he dropped. He would have had 4 touchdowns on the game.
Hey, man, we've seen that game before for Gabe, so it's nothing out of the ordinary.
From Jacksonville, you could stream Trevor Lawrence. I'd rather personally stream Drake May on the other side if I'm going to stream one of the quarterbacks in this game.
I agree.
New England... Ramondre Stevenson, if he's playing, I'm playing him. Jacksonville's run defense is terrible. I don't much want to spot start Antonio Gibson if Ramondre's out. Gibson was horrible last week, incredibly insufficient, 13 for 19.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Jermichael Hasty was playing in there a bit, so I would shy away from it
I
personally.
think Gibbs is he's startable in the flex if Ramondre doesn't play just based off matchup. I think Jacksonville, you have to start any type of starting running back versus Jacksonville. I get he was super inconsistent last week, but he's going to get a ton of catches. So PPR leagues, Gibson should be fine if he gets a start. But Ramondre wasn't seen at practice again today, so it's looking like it's going to be Gibson.
Yeah. I would personally rather, if I'm going to start a Patriot, I would rather start Hunter Henry or Demario Douglas.
Oh, no, I definitely agree.
I think they'll be more involved in the passing game than Gibson. Demario Douglas, I said it on last episode, 3 of the last 4 games, he's had 9 targets. He is the focal point of the offense, and Hunter Henry is usually good for a touchdown, and Jacksonville's pretty bad against every position on the offense. So the Patriots do have startable pieces. And then Jacksonville, you're going to start Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that. And then I'm incredibly comfortable with Evan Ingram, and I'm incredibly comfortable with Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep.
I'd much like to not start Christian Kirk, but he does have some flex capabilities, but I would be trying to find a different option than him. Like, I would rather start Demario Douglas than Christian Kirk.
Oh, definitely. Douglas has had way more targets the last couple of weeks than Kirk's. Kirk's had 4 targets 2 weeks ago, 6 the last week. Only brought in 3 of them. Kirk's like a really, really low-end flex option for me this week. I'd rather definitely dip out and try to get anybody else.
But we're done with this game?
Yeah, you had Jacksonville pretty much spot on. Ingram, lock him in. Thomas, lock him in. Bigsby, though, I would be a little bit worried in case somehow New England gets ahead. He's not going to be on the field.
Yeah,
that's what you have to worry about.
I just don't think New England can get ahead. Like that, there is that.
I agree,
doubt,
but it's Jacksonville.
Yeah. We're both picking Jacksonville, though? Or are you picking New England?
I think the Jags squeak it out.
Okay. All right. Next up, your start of the week is in this game. The Detroit Lions travel to Minnesota and take on the Vikings. The Vikings are 1.5-point favorites at home. An over-under of 50.5 points. A little steep because these two teams, while having great offenses, have great defenses. So there's a chance that these two teams just slap each other around and are a little disappointing fantasy-wise because of that. But you're going to start your key pieces on both sides of the ball. Detroit, you're starting Montgomery, you're starting Gibbs, despite Minnesota being great as a run defense. You're starting Amon-Ra, you're starting Jameson Williams, you're starting Sam Laporta. For Minnesota, you're starting Justin Jefferson. I like Jordan Addison this week as well. I'd be starting him.
Addison.
If Aaron Jones does play, you start him. I'm not confident in that. And if Aaron Jones is out, I'm not playing Ty Chandler.
I agree. I'm not starting a running back from Minnesota. If Aaron Jones plays, I still think he's going to be extremely limited. So I don't feel comfortable starting Aaron Jones, especially versus Detroit. Detroit is so run heavy. Like defensively, you can't run against them. I get they lost Aiden Hutchinson, but I don't think it really switches up that much on the run defense.
Yeah. And then TJ Hawkinson probably not playing this week, but his window is open up. The Vikings kind of they're roping the system. They're going to be able to get 4 games played potentially in this window before he comes back because we have a Thursday game.
Okay.
So like it opens things up where he might get a little extra time. Nice. Big brain move from the Minnesota Vikings. It's then, how do we feel about the quarterbacks? Sam Darnold, Jared Goff. I would temper expectations for both of them. I would try not to be playing either. I would start Goff if I had to start one of them.
Definitely, I would start Goff over Darnold. But Darnold, I would try to find some other streamable quarterback. And Goff, if you're stuck with him, you can start him. But I would also try to find like a stream. Baker, Daniels, some guy that you drafted with Goff. I would be fine starting over him. But both running backs for Detroit. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask who wins the game. But go on. Go talk.
No,
talk Gibbs Montgomery.
It's going to be a rough outing for, it's going to be rough because it's Minnesota's defense. But I think one of those guys finds the end zone this week. It's going to be split.
You're just going to hope for 10 to 12 points from those guys, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, I think they both break 12. I think Montgomery has a better chance of getting in the end zone again this week. It happened last week where Gibbs didn't, but I think Gibbs ends up with a ton of catch work in this game.
And then Detroit, they're without Aiden Hutchinson. That's the key part of their defense. They're missing their best player. So it'll be interesting to see where they generate any sort of pass rush because they do struggle in the secondary. They give up some passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not generating a pass rush, it could be problematic for the Lions defense.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually leaning more towards Minnesota as of right now. I think you guys get the big dub in Minnesota, 6-0. It's going to be rough, though. Detroit's real good, dude.
Yeah, and then after Detroit, Minnesota has a Thursday game versus the Rams, so that could be a sneaky trap game for the Vikings if they do get a hard-fought win, or even if they get the loss here, it could be a tough sledding going a short week after a hard game against the Lions. I have the Lions above the Vikings in the power rankings. I've said that if these two teams play, I do think Detroit wins the game. Mm-hmm. So I am going to pick the Lions.
Yeah, no, I get it. Next week's going to be rough for you guys, though. Teams playing the Lions have real big down weeks the week after playing the Lions, and you guys have a Thursday game, so it's even going to be harder of a bounce back.
Thursday game in Los Angeles.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to make the prediction now that you guys beat Detroit now and then lose to the Rams next week.
Okay. Next up on the slate, revenge game. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to MetLife and take on the New York Giants.
Ugh, Barkley.
It is a over-under of 42.5. The Eagles are favored by 3.5 points on the road. You, me, and Merck, we do a little 3-leg parlay every week. We've yet to hit. My pick this week is going to be an anytime Saquon Barkley touchdown.
Oh, yeah, that's probably smart.
Your run defense has been incredible this year. Like Dexter Lawrence and crew have just been shutting down running backs. But Saquon Barkley could have an average game, but I think it's going to be Philadelphia's determination to get this guy in the end zone, especially in MetLife.
I agree. I think Barkley definitely ends up in the end zone in MetLife, if not more than once, to be honest. But our run defense has been good, dude. Brian Burns has been really good. Thibodeau didn't play last week, and
he's on IR now.
Yeah, I know, it's sad. Going into last week, we led the NFL in sacks, and I know we had a couple last week, so there's a real good chance we still lead the NFL in sacks.
Dexter Lawrence is second in the league in sacks.
Hell yeah, dog.
Aiden Hutchinson has 7.5, and then Sexy Dexy was 7.
Yeah,
big body
he's on
boy
pace for a huge season. Hopefully, he gets some love for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's going to win it, but throw my boy's name in the running. We lost Andrew Thomas for the year, so it's going to be a huge some type of bounce. I don't know if Evan Neal's going to play left or what we're doing right now, but it's going to be you can't fill the shoes of Andrew Thomas. He's a top 8 left tackle in football. Yeah. He's elite, dude. So that's going to be rough.
Luckily for you, the Eagles' pass rush is pretty lackluster. There. So,
yeah.
But if there's a game for them to get going, it would be this game against a team running their backup left tackle. Eagles' defense is, I guess, a spot start if you want to throw them in. But both these teams, it's pretty locked and loaded on who you're going to start. You're going to start Jalen Hurts. You're going to start Saquon Barkley. You're going to start A.J. Brown. You're going to start Devonta Smith. That's it. Dallas Goedert probably not playing. You're not going to stream the Eagles' backup tight end, Gallicatori or whatever his name is. Chicken Cacciatore.
He did look good, but I'm not starting. He looked really good last week, but that would be some type of weird scenario where you have to start like a 16-team league and you're starting the Eagles' backup tight end.
And then from the Giants, Malik Neighbors, he's out of concussion protocol. He's going to be playing. You're going to be starting him. You're probably going to start Wan'Dale Robinson, especially in PPR. He's still going to get targets. And I think you're going to start Tyrone Tracy if he is the backfield guy. If Devin Singletary doesn't play, Tyrone Tracy is going to get involvement. We've seen it, and he got passing work this past week. So you're going to play him. I wouldn't play Singletary if he's active, though.
I'm playing Tracy almost regardless if Singletary plays or not. He's been limited all week, so even if he plays, he's not going to be a full go. And Tracy the last 2 weeks has been a dog, dude. 100 yards 2 weeks ago. Last week he had under 3 yards a carry, but he ended up getting in the end zone, but we used him more in the receiving game, which is what we really needed him for. So if we can put a combination of his first start and his second start into one, We're looking at a huge fantasy outing. And
Wow.
I think with Singletary there, I think he's still going to get more work than Singletary.
Yeah. Big brain move. Use the guy who used to be a college wide receiver as a receiver back.
Makes sense. Makes sense to me.
Would you stream the Giants defense? Do you think there's a chance where they get... No? Okay.
No. Hurts has had a few weird.
He does turn over the ball a lot.
Yeah. And we're gonna get a huge pass rush on him, but there's a chance Philly drops 30 plus points on us. So you're looking at saving by the few sacks we end up with and maybe 2 turnovers. Okay. So I don't think that's worth it.
Theo Johnson, he's a no-go.
Pass.
Darius Slayton.
No, unfortunately not, because I mean I love that. Okay. I love that Neighbors is back, but I love Slayton, dude. I love when we get to use him. And he was my parlay pick over 5 catches last week, and he hit 6. Big Slayton guy, dude. He's really good when he gets his opportunities.
Who wins this game?
The Eagles.
I agree.
Yeah.
Next up,
I was gonna say it's not gonna be. I don't think it's actually close, to be honest. I think we lose by at least a touchdown, if not more. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be close.
I think they'll just cover the spread. I think it's gonna be a close game. 3.5. I think they'll win by like 4 or 5.
I think they got us by a tutty.
Yeah, bad coaching will do this to a team. You guys know how I feel about Sirianni.
I get it. They are a terribly coached team, while we are a really good coached team. So it's going to be a tough battle.
Speaking of terribly coached teams, the Cincinnati Bengals, they travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Bengals are 5.5-point road favorites at over/under of 41.5. Joe Burrow has never beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And the Bengals haven't won in Cleveland in over 5 years.
Yeah. It's like 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah. That's insane. I do think they win this game. I'll just get that one out of the way there because this is another easy game. Cleveland, you're going to play David Njoku. I think that's it. I'm not willing to flex Jerry Jeudy. You might be able to. I know you're a little bit higher on Jeudy than I am. I personally would not go there.
He played 91% of snaps last week and only ended up with 4.5 points. He caught a pass. It's rough, but he is the one now in terms of receivers. Njoku's still the one option in targets. I guess you can stream Jeudy, but yeah, it'd be a rough scenario. Him or Jacoby Myers?
If Myers plays, I'd go Myers.
Okay. See, I think I have to lean towards Jeudy regardless because of Myers being injured. It could flare up at any moment. I take the guy that's healthy, quote for quote.
Yeah. And then Browns run game. I'm just excited to see Nick Chubb out there, not playing him because they don't know how much they're going to utilize him. He could just be out there and get 5 to 7 carries just to kind of see.
I would not start
what he can do. Now, I wouldn't start any Browns running back, even if Jerome Ford plays.
Nope. I don't think Ford ends up playing, to be honest. And Strong is going to lose.
Been practicing.
Strong's going to lose some type of carries to Chubb, even if it is only 5 to 8. And that's a lot of workload for a guy that needs all of the workload to be any type of productive. So, but I am excited to see Chubb out there. I think it is going to be like a test game. I think he's going to get 5 to 8 carries, like I said. But I think he's going to look fine. I'm really excited to see Chubb out there.
And then from the Bengals, you're starting Joe Burrow. You're starting Jamar Chase. You're starting T. Higgins.
Yep.
And then Chase Brown. I'm not sure I'd start Zach Moss, but I'm not giving up on Zach Moss yet. But if I was desperate for a flex guy, like I would start Zach Moss over Antonio Gibson.
Oh, God. If Ramondre doesn't play, I would start Gibson over Zach Moss. But I'm starting Chase Brown to lock it in for sure. Him, Chase, Higgins, Burrow, everyone suit him up for sure.
Andre Yoshivas?
No, I don't like that guy.
I know, you hate him. Bengals win this game, though.
The Browns win.
The Browns win.
Browns win.
Wow.
Nick Chubb. It's a Nick Chubb thing. He's the leader of the team. It's in Cleveland. I really think the Browns end up winning this game.
Then the final score of that game would have to be like 13-7.
You remember the Giants game last week when we played Cincinnati? And it was 7-17. It's going to be
the Bengals do play down to their competition.
It's going to be 14-10. There's my prediction. 14-10.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
10 to 13. Let's go field goal.
Well, then
10 to 13.
Then you don't want to start any Bengals players if they're only scoring 10 points.
No, but there's going to get Chase is going to end up with 10 plus catches. Higgins had 7 catches versus us, 70 yards, and all these guys are startable without touchdowns. Like, I would start all the Bengals regardless of touchdowns.
I personally don't think this game's going to be close. I think this is a big step in the right direction for Cincinnati. Maybe I'm giving too much credit to Zach Taylor because he's a coward. But
I really think you are, dude. Like, the Bengals aren't good, brother. They really struggled versus us.
Great offense. I'd even be starting their defense.
I mean, yeah, because Watson's shit. But I really think Cleveland pulls this game out. I think it's going to be sloppy.
Okay. If the Browns beat the Bengals, the Bengals should fire Zach Taylor.
They won't. Just like him, that organization is cowards from top to bottom.
Well, yes,
cowards.
They don't fire coaches. Marvin Lewis was their coach for ever.
A decade too long, to be honest. So,
Tennessee travels to Buffalo. The Titans are 9.5-point underdogs on the road.
That seems generous.
Under of 41 points.
That's crazy.
Yes. Start the Bills defense. Will Levis is bound to turn the ball over at least 2 times and take 3 sacks.
Dude, he is bad.
Comical.
He's bad. Comical is a really good word. I've never really thought about that. I guess he is kind of like watching like a blind man play quarterback. He has no idea when the pressure's coming. He doesn't know where to throw a ball. He can't see a window if it was literally right in front of him.
And it's a shame because he's got incredible like intangibles, like talent. Like he's got a great arm. Yeah. He's super athletic. Like brother wishes he was Josh Allen. And instead he's I don't even have a comparison for him. He's just terrible. Like it's not working. And in Tennessee, I'm only starting Tony Pollard. I'm not putting Calvin Ridley out there until they show me they can actually get him the ball. And I'm not even rostering DeAndre Hopkins. It is Tony Pollard, and that's it, especially with Tyjae Spears being likely to not play.
Yeah, he's not going to play.
Like, you can run on Buffalo.
Yeah, that is true. Tony Pollard's the only guy here for Tennessee. And I would like to be the one to apologize on our behalf to Jameis Winston for trying to put Will Levis into a category with him.
I agree.
He's not.
He might get those 30 interceptions.
He might. He might actually beat that, to be honest. Somehow, 18-game season. The brother's bad, dude. He should not be playing. But
he needs LASIK. Maybe he is Jameis Winston. Maybe he can't see.
Maybe. I don't know what the hell's going on, but
someone get Will Levis to the eye doctor.
Just trade him to Cleveland for Watson. Just swap quarterbacks.
Buffalo, though, you're starting Josh Allen, obviously. You're starting James Cook if he plays. If James Cook doesn't play, you're going to start Ray Davis.
Hell yeah.
Because that guy looked great on Monday. So even though he didn't start, Ty Johnson, the starter, did nothing.
Didn't start.
But Ray Davis was the guy. So if James Cook is out, you're going to put Ray Davis in. Tennessee does have a sneaky good defense, but that's it. And then the question's Amari Cooper. If Amari Cooper plays, are you plugging him into your lineup?
Oh, man. If you have some type of option, I would, like a good option, not any option, obviously, like a really good option. Just sitting there, I would start him over Cooper. But if Cooper ends up playing and you need like a flex guy, I'd lock him in, but I don't think he's going to be a top 24 guy this week.
Jordan Addison or Amari Cooper?
I'd go Addison. I think Addison's going to have a good week in Detroit.
Khalil Shakir or Amari Cooper?
Cooper.
Okay. Shakir probably gives you a better floor because he's going to catch passes. And Amari Cooper out there could open up the field for him. Like, I think Shakir's an okay start this week, but I would have him and Cooper right around the same. They're going to be in the 30s wherever they finish if they play the full length of the game. I don't know how many snaps Cooper's going to get, or even if he plays. That's
the thing. And if he does play, he's going to have a very limited playbook. He's not going to have the full book. He's not going to know all the route trees. And I'm fine with that, to be honest, because Cooper he's an elite talent. We've seen it in Oakland. We've seen it in Dallas. We've seen it in Cleveland. Every single team he's been on, he's produced. And he was that guy in Alabama, too. So even back in college, even if he has 4 out of the 10 routes down, I think he could still finish with 5 for 50 and a touchdown. And that's really startable, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he does become touchdown dependent. You're hoping for a touchdown
This
for him
week.
to
Yeah,
be
for sure.
fantasy
Yeah,
relevant. Yeah,
100%.
I agree. If I had options, I wouldn't be trying to start Cooper, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to also like force him out of my lineup, like picking up, I don't know, just some guy. Like I would start Cooper over like Jalen Waddle because Jalen Waddle's got
Definitely.
Tyler Huntley. Like I'd rather take the shot that Cooper scores, but like I might start like Tyler Lockett over Amari Cooper or Jackson Smith and Jigba just because like that game could have a ton of points.
Would you start Mooney over him?
Probably same boat.
Same game. Oh, man, that's rough.
I would hold all four of those guys in like the same bucket.
Exactly. That's where I really think it would be. So I kind of think I'd lean Cooper just based off of
Ceiling.
The ceiling. And there's a lot to go around in Seattle. And obviously Atlanta too. So I'd go Cooper over.
Buffalo wins this game.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be a fun game either, to be honest.
The Houston Texans travel to Green Bay and take on the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are 3-point favorites at home, an over-under of 47.5. Houston.
Do you know how many times in the offseason we compared these two quarterbacks? And now we get to see them fucking head to head, baby.
I cannot believe the NFL. There's so many decent games this week. Houston, Green Bay, Seattle, Atlanta, Minnesota, Detroit. Didn't flex one of these games to Sunday night. Instead, they're giving us Pittsburgh and the Jets because you got to get Aaron Rodgers on TV.
Yeah, it's dumb.
So like, I'm heated that like these games are all on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But C.J. Stroud, he's been fine. He hasn't been what we drafted, but like that was expected. Like he was being drafted as a top 5 quarterback, and we had him more in the 8 to 10 range, and that's pretty much where he's been.
I was gonna say he's been pretty close to what you and I and a few people that we talked to. He's not the guy that every person kind of thought he'd be. Like, oh, he's gonna be a lock. Like I'd start Baker Mayfield over him if it's a bad matchup. I would start Jaden Daniels over him if it's a bad matchup. Jordan Love over him if it's a bad matchup.
I would start Geno Smith over him if it was a favorable matchup for Geno. Seattle's passing a ton.
He hit 50-some passes the other day. I agree. But Stroud's having obviously a great season, but he's a streamable quarterback. He's very touchdown dependent. Yeah,
he's been good. Joe Mixon's obviously in your lineup.
Locked.
The key to the offense. Tank Dell, I'm starting him. He played more the Nico role last week than any other receiver on the team, so that's nice to see that he's got involved. He had a great game against the Patriots, and you're starting Steph Diggs as well. And I think that's it from Houston. I'm not fiddling around with Dalton Schultz. I'm not fiddling around with Robert Woods or Xavier Hutchinson, whoever's going to be the third receiver on this team, and none of the other backs, because Joe Mixon's back.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter who the third receiver is. But Tank Dell, dude, it makes sense to not change Diggs' role, because why change up what he's been doing all year really good? And Tank Dell slid right into that role, which is awesome, dude. I was really happy to see Tank Dell go out there, put up 7 catches, a tutty. Love the dude. Tank Dell still doing it big.
Tank Dell might be a guy you can sell high before Nico gets back. Try to get some package him up and upgrade at your wide receiver position or a running back if you're in need of something to make a push for the championship. And Green Bay, Jordan Love, you're starting him. Josh Jacobs, you're starting him and just hoping he scores.
Oh, Godspeed.
And then the receivers are all up in the air. Like Jaden Reed, he's questionable. Christian Watson, he's questionable. Dontavian Wicks, he's questionable. Romeo Doubs is healthy. So Romeo Doubs might be your safest play for the Packers. He had 2 touchdowns last week. He's got probably the best floor. Maybe I would say Jaden Reed's. Jaden Reed's got the best floor and the best ceiling in that offense. He's the best receiver on the field. You're going to play him if he's in. I'm fine playing Christian Watson as well if he's playing. I actually think Watson, Dobbs, and Reed all play. I don't think Wicks does.
I kind of agree. Dontavius Williams was a full practice today. So there's a chance he does suiting up. Being full of practice is always a good sign. But I'm cool starting Watson. I think he has a really good ceiling this week. I think it's way higher than Romeo Doubs, obviously.
I would start Watson over Amari Cooper.
Yeah, they're both really touchdown dependent. but I would take the guy who's been with the team all year, just this week.
Yeah.
This is probably the only week I would start Christian Watson going forward over Amari Cooper. Come next week, it's probably not going to be close.
And then Tucker Kraft.
I guess.
He had that 9-target game against Minnesota, then everything else just been like 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Like, so it's volume based. Like, for Tucker Kraft, you would have loved one of those receivers to not play because then he's more involved in the offense. It's going to be a case of there's a lot of mouths to feed in Green Bay. You never know where they're going to go, and you're just going to hope maybe it's a Tucker Kraft game. I personally wouldn't try to be playing him. I would find somebody else if I could, but
I'd
I understand. Tight end market's pretty minimal, but like, say I had Kyle Pitts with him, I would play Kyle Pitts over Tucker Kraft.
Well, yeah, you're looking at 2 really startable tight ends, to be honest. Kyle Pitts is probably a top 10 tight end this year. Probably around 7, if I had to guess.
Last I checked, he was tight end 8.
Yeah, so I get he's not hitting every week, but Kyle Pitts is really startable. I think Tucker Kraft is also startable in the tight end market.
Him or
Njoku. Oh, Njoku. Njoku's the only option realistically in that offense.
What about Dalton Kincaid? We didn't even touch on him in the Buffalo game.
We really didn't. Kincaid over who? Kraft?
Kraft.
Yeah, for sure. Not Njoku, though. Not Njoku.
No, I agree.
Who you picking in this game? It's going to be a crazy game.
I'm going to pick the home team. I'm taking the Packers.
I also picked the Packers, but I kind of want to go different just because. I'll go Houston.
Okay. All right. Seattle travels to Atlanta, and the Falcons are 3-point home favorites, and over-under of 51 points. Geno Smith's been incredible this year. He's just not getting any touchdowns. He leads the league in passing attempts. He leads the league in passing yards. Eventually, things are going to go in his favor.
100%.
And he's going to have a big touchdown game. I think it comes this week.
You think so?
I do. I think Geno Smith could be in line for 3+ touchdowns.
There's a really good chance of that.
Atlanta's been really good at stopping the run.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be Seattle's going to have to pass. And to keep up with the Falcons' offense, they're going to have to score. Seattle they need a big week. Like Seattle, they're on a 3-game skid. Atlanta's getting hot. Like they need to come out all cylinders going. Like they should start the game first play, try to hit hit DK on a huge bomb down the field.
Yeah. I get that Atlanta is good at stopping the run, but you can't stop Ken Walker this year. He's literally running through defenses. Yeah,
but the last 2 games he's averaged under 3 yards a carry.
No, versus us he averaged 3.8.
Okay, I mean, didn't he only have like 30 yards?
He only had 5 carries. He had to have a touchdown.
He's getting
no, he had 7 catches. Versus Detroit, he had 80 yards, and Detroit is a top 2 run defense in football. That's what I'm really looking at. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns versus Detroit. My apologies.
He was great. He's been the one running back who beat the Lions.
I think he can beat Atlanta. They're not a red matchup. They're an orange, so they're in the middle of the pack. I'm cool with DK.
Oh well, I'm starting Kenny Walker. I'm not benching because Atlanta's.
I don't think it's going to be a huge passing game per se, but I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Geno Smith gets touchdowns. I don't think the yards are all going to be there.
Oh, I do. I think we're seeing another 50 pass attempt game from Geno or close to.
I don't think you could do that to that guy.
Yeah. I think you can. I think Geno Smith is that dude. He can do it.
I think it's going to be more like the Giants game where it's like 40 passes, 280 yards. I don't think he breaks 3. But I think Ken Walker has another huge game, though.
Yeah. I think Walker's going to be great. I don't see it necessarily on the run. I think he's going to get another handful of targets. He's had 8 targets the last 2 weeks. Yeah. I think it ranges towards there. You're looking at 6 potential catches from him. Mm-hmm. I do think he gets in the end zone. I like DK Metcalf this week. He's a superstar. You're always going to play him anyways. And then I think you call your shot and take your shot on Lockett or JSN. And then on the other side with Atlanta, I think you call your shot on Mooney and Pitts as well.
I would rather start Mooney over either JSN or Lockett.
Well, yeah, I
agree. Taking shots on either of those.
Ray McLeod's not taking away from Darnell Mooney like Lockett and JSN do each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. JSN and Lockett are both really low-end flex guys, where I think Mooney's a higher-end flex guy in my eyes.
And then Drake London, he's a superstar.
Dude, he is everything everyone drafted him to be.
We're seeing it. It's happening.
Yep.
He's the receiver. It wasn't Garrett Wilson. It wasn't Chris Olave who breaks out. It's Drake London, and it should continue, especially if Tyreek Woolen doesn't play. Like, Drake, we could be looking at a huge Drake London game this week.
I think regardless, Drake London's going to have at least 6 catches. He's had 6 catches every single game except week 1. So he's good for 6 catches, essentially. He's had a touchdown 4 of the 6 weeks. Like, Drake London is that dude that everyone drafted him in the second round to be. You love when this happens, when you draft a guy way above anything he's ever done before. And now Drake London is a superstar for fantasy football.
And obviously, you're starting Bijan Robinson. He finally had a huge game last week.
Yeah. What about Algier?
How you feel about? Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I beat you to it. Yes,
I'm comfortable flexing Tyler Algier again.
No.
I'll bring up Antonio Gibson. I would start Algier over him. I am out completely. I don't care about the matchup for Gibson being in Jacksonville. I would much rather start Tyler Algier.
If Ramondre doesn't play, I would 100% start Gibson over Tyler Algier.
Not this guy. No. I think there's more touchdown upside for Algier than Gibson.
I disagree. Algier's had 1 touchdown on the year, and that's even receiving. And other than last week, he's had 10 points once, and that was week 4 versus New Orleans, a horrendous run defense. His high on the year besides that is 7. Like, I think that's his ceiling is 7 points, where I think Gibson has the ability to get 7 catches if he starts.
I don't see it. He started last week and didn't get 7 catches.
Yeah, he also didn't play Jacksonville last week, Leonard. I'm not starting. I'm playing him because he's playing Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't care about the matchup. I just don't think Antonio Gibson is a good football player.
He's a good football player. He really is. He's perfectly fine. He has the ability to go out there and get 6 catches versus Jacksonville, without a doubt.
Yeah, I'd rather Algier. I think Algier is a much better football player.
He's a better running back. Gibson has literally had 13 points, 12-9, and then 7 every single week.
All as a backup. As a starter, he's not it.
Last week he started, correct? And he had 7 points. So he had Tyler Algier's 4. And that was versus Houston, a really good defense. So his 4 versus a good defense is 7. Jacksonville, yeah, for sure. I would bet you he outscores Tyler Algier this week, even if Ramondre plays.
I don't see it.
Call your shot, brother.
I don't. I am. As I just said, I would take Tyler Algier over Antonio Gibson.
I don't. Not gonna happen.
Yep. I just think Atlanta is going to use a 2-back. I think what we saw last week from them with Algier is more towards the normal that we're going to see going forward.
I disagree. He still played the same amount of snaps as he did before. It was less than 40%.
But he got work. I think they're going to scheme him in, so when he's playing, he's going to get touches.
I disagree.
Who wins the game?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. I agree.
Yeah.
Noah Fant? You willing to stream Noah Fant? Okay.
No.
I think Noah Fant is playable. Like if you're like,
he's no better than Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I would hold them. I would rank them. But like Jake Ferguson's on a bye, I would try to get either one of those guys. I know you're in that boat.
Tampa Bay's tight end, the Rams tight end. I would take any of those guys over both those guys.
Yeah, I would hold them all in the same boat. They're all the same.
Yeah, Noah Fant's never startable in my eyes. He's not worth it. He has no upside at all. His floor is his ceiling, and that's not what you really want.
Miami and Indianapolis.
Ugh, fucking disgusting.
The opposite of this game that we just talked about. Colts are 3-point favorites at home, over under 43.5. And Anthony Richardson is going to be playing. So
how upsetting.
Michael Pittman.
Benched.
How you feel about him?
Bench him. I'm not starting him.
Josh Downs.
I mean, you can start him based off of PPR leagues, but if you're playing like half point PPR or no PPR, I would not start Josh Downs.
If you're playing no PPR, stop playing fantasy football.
Hey man, there's still really, really old school people out there who refuse to change their systems.
What an insane thing.
Yeah.
I said it last episode. I'm comfortable with Josh Downs, no matter who the quarterback is, because they scheme him plays.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Pittman does worry me. I would bench him, but same game. Michael Pittman or Jalen Waddle.
Pittman. What about Amari Cooper or Pittman? I'm going Amari Cooper.
I think I would. I agree. I think I would go Cooper. He's just a better player.
Well, not even that. He has
better player, better quarterback.
He's got a legitimate quarterback throwing him the ball.
Yeah. This could be the game, though, for Anthony Richardson. Who knows? Maybe he has that breakout game, but
Camera's doing weird things.
Colts backfield. Johnny Taylor probably not playing. Trey Sermon hasn't practiced either, so Tyler Goodson had some juice against the Titans, so he might be the starting running back. Miami is terrible against the run. So, do you take Tyler Goodson? Here we go. If Tyler Goodson is his backfield, Trey Sermon's not there, I'm starting Tyler Goodson over Antonio Gibson. I'm also starting him over Tyler Algier.
Yeah, so am I. So that's not even a hot take. Tyler Algier, this guy's better than
Tyler Goodson.
Yeah, I get that, but he's the only running back in the system versus a terrible. It's a matchup thing. It's almost like playing Jacksonville. If Tyler Goodson was playing Jacksonville as the only running back, I would start him over a handful of people.
There's also the chance that Anthony Richardson then takes over the backfield as well. You have to worry about him.
Nah.
If he doesn't have to pass and he can just run, that might be okay for him.
Even when he was playing, like, week 1, he had 50 yards, and his ceiling after that was 30 yards, like 37. So he wasn't even like running like we wanted him to.
I don't think they're trying to run him.
I agree, but now he's coming back off an injury, and I get they used him.
I think he was trying to be a pocket passer.
Yeah,
I think he wanted to prove that he couldn't. Yeah, he needs to start running.
I agree, but I don't know if they're going to do that.
And then Miami, I like the backfield. Mostert and Achane, and obviously you're going to start Tyreek Hill. That's it. I don't want to play Jalen Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to fuck around with Jonnu Smith.
Nope. You can play Waddle if you have to.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be, it's going to be what he's been getting. It's going to be like 7 to 8 points. You'll be lucky if he gets 10.
So Waddle or Jacoby Myers?
Jacoby Myers if he plays.
Okay. And then it's really, I would stash Jaden Wright. I wouldn't play him, but keep an eye on him. Miami's backs can't stay healthy. So there's a chance like Jaden Wright might be the back that they need. He's the combo of the two, and he could be this bruising back that, like, Miami needs to get something going in the run game to open up any sort of thing for Devon Achane.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, because Devon Achane, he doesn't have the body to be the every down back. Like, we see it. Like, look at last year, he averaged almost 8 yards a carry. This year, he's barely averaging 3.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. He can't be that kind of guy. Jalen Wright did have a huge week before the bye versus New England. He had 86 yards, almost averaged 7 a clip. So it is something to watch if one of those guys definitely goes down. But that's what you're banking on, is someone to get hurt.
Yeah. I think he's a stash, especially with like playoff runs coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a guy to just keep on your radar going forward. Who wins?
Indianapolis.
Bad football game.
I don't trust Miami's offense.
I agree. Yeah. I don't think they're hitting the over either of 43.5. This is going to be
it shouldn't even be that high.
It's going to be like a 20-6 game.
You're very generous giving one of these teams 20 points.
Oh, the Colts scored 20 points last week versus the Titans.
Yeah, with Joe Flacco. You are correct.
Yeah. Have they scored 20 with Richardson?
The week 1, I don't know what they scored. That was a long, long time ago.
Carolina travels to Washington to take on the Commanders. The Panthers are 8-point underdogs on the road, an over-under of 51.5 points. Carolina's been a relevant offense since Andy Dalton took over. Now they're playing one of the worst defenses in the league. So, Carolina. Andy Dalton, he worth starting.
No. No, I would say no. Just based off of... Okay, well, I guess this could get very ugly very fast where they're passing a ton. Because I think Washington actually just runs away with this game, to be honest.
So, Dak Prescott and Caleb Williams both on buys. Two guys who are... One's a guy you've been starting. Caleb Williams has starting capability. So would you start Andy Dalton over Drake May?
No, man. No, I kind of like the high upside of Drake May versus Jacksonville this week.
Okay. Same game, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, no, give me Andy Dalton over Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
I think New England's defense is pretty solid here and there to where Washington
Matthew Stafford against Vegas.
Off the bye. Give me Stafford. Cooper, okay. If Cooper Kupp plays. If Cooper Kupp plays, give me Stafford for sure.
Okay. Sam Darnold.
Okay.
The pieces for Andy Dalton, though. You're starting Deontay Johnson. That
I like
dude
them all.
Is second in the league in targets, and they're just peppering him. I guess you could take the upside shot on Leggett. And then Chuba Hubbard
last week.
Chuba Hubbard's been great. He's an RB2 going forward. And Johnny Brooks isn't going to play, but they did open his practice window, so we should be seeing him in the next few weeks, hopefully. But I don't think it's going to affect Chuba Hubbard at all, really. I think they'll pepper him in here and there. I don't think Jonathan Brooks will ever take over the backfield this year.
I agree. Leggett has had two really good weeks with Dalton. One versus Cincy and then one versus Atlanta last week. Both had touchdowns. The week for Chicago, I'm not even looking at that. It wasn't even in the script for him to be on the field. He was on the field for 37% of snaps.
Yeah,
they were not passing that game. They couldn't. You can't really pass versus the Bears like that. So that's out of the window. And Washington's a great matchup. I think Leggett's a very startable flex option this week.
All right, and Washington, you're obviously starting Jaden Daniels, you're starting Terry McLaurin, and then I think both running backs are great starts, Eckler and Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Would you start the Commanders' defense?
Man, their defense is bad. Oh man.
I would. I think Carolina with Andy Dalton, they've been a fine offense. Whereas, like they'll get turnovers, but I'd rather stream the Rams. Or I would hold them in the same regards as Indianapolis. They're bad defenses that I don't want to play, but if I had to, I'd play them just based on their matchup.
I would rather Washington over Indianapolis. Washington defense, we've seen it. Versus Cleveland, versus Arizona, both green matchups, which is what they have in Carolina. Cleveland, they had 22. Arizona, they had 13. That's in our home league. Our defense is in standard scoring. But Washington is capable of scoring versus bad offenses. And that's what Carolina is, quote for quote. They're a green matchup for defenses. So Washington is streamable, I would say, over Indianapolis.
Yeah. And then Zach Ertz, same bucket as all those other tight ends we brought up. Yeah.
He's fine. He's going to be 4 for 40.
Yeah. Washington win this game?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Brian Robinson or Austin Eckler? We'll just pick between the two running backs on the same team.
Give me Eckler, dude. I'm just a fan of Eckler.
I would go Robinson. What about if we threw Chuba Hubbard in the mix between the three?
Give me Chuba. I agree.
There's
good right now.
Yeah, there's Miles Sanders isn't cutting into Chuba's role like Eckler and Robinson do to each other. All right. The Las Vegas Raiders travel to Los Angeles and they take on the Rams. The Rams are 7-point home favorites. An over-under of 43.5. The Raiders, no Devontae Adams. He's gone. Out of town. Adios. Aiden O'Connell starting. Jacoby Myers is questionable. Trey Tucker is the other receiver there. And then it's obviously the Brock Bowers show. And then I guess you could play Alexander Madison just based off volume, but that's truly disgusting.
He's a touchdown. You need a touchdown for him to have any type of good game. That's what you need to call.
Alexander Madison or Tyler Algier?
Madison, he's starting.
Okay, I would go Algier.
I'd go Madison.
Madison or Gibson? Oh, obviously you're picking Gibson if you took. Oh, maybe not. Yeah,
No,
Madison or Gibson? You didn't take Madison?
No, if Gibson is the only back, I would take Gibson over Madison.
I'm also going to take Antonio Gibson. I found the line.
There you go. You found your guy.
It's Alexander Madison. I've lived through it.
He's doing the opposite of what he did with you guys. Like
he's scoring touchdowns
and not looking like a real football player.
He's not turning it over.
In Minnesota, he looked like a decent running back. He just couldn't score when he was the backup. But he's not a starting running back. Like when you give this guy the opportunity, he just collapses. He's not.
Yeah.
He's a really good backup, though.
He is a fill-in running back, and now he's filling it permanently because Zamir White's just as bad.
Oh, yeah, Zamir White's dog shit right now, dude.
Get Dylan Lobby on the field. Let's just see what he's got.
That guy had negative points last week.
Okay, he played? I didn't watch any of the Raiders. Okay.
He played 2% of snaps and had negative 2 points, so that guy should not be on the field.
Probably fumbled.
I think he did.
Are you starting any of the Raiders receivers here? Trey Tucker.
Jacoby Myers if he plays.
Jacoby Myers. If Jacoby Myers doesn't play, are you starting Trey Tucker?
No, he goosed last week versus Pittsburgh. And then only had 4 versus Denver. My apologies, it's getting late here. I get Denver's a hard matchup, but you goose versus Pittsburgh and you play 95% of snaps, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's Brock Bowers and nobody else for me. But I would start. I would do Myers. I guess would be flex if he plays.
Yeah, if Myers plays, I'm cool flexing.
The Rams, obviously, Kyron Williams, Matt Stafford streamable, Colby Parkinson streamable. Cooper Kupp coming back would be huge. You're putting him right back in your lineup, and I think that would open up things for DeMarcus Robinson potentially. Maybe this is what DeMarcus Robinson needs, but I'm not rostering or starting that guy. But keep an eye on how much involvement he gets now that he's not actually the number one receiver in this offense, because as the number one, he was just running cardio and it was just opening things up for Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tutu Atwell has been the guy that...
keep an eye on Jordan Whittington. I think he's going to be the one who actually becomes the relevant piece until Puka gets back.
It's going to be him or Tutu. Tutu has looked really solid the last 3 weeks.
He looked good last year, too.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's him or Whittington. I don't think it's going to be Robinson. I think Robinson's role stays the exact same it's been all year. He's just out there running routes, baby. Don't get him the ball. He's just out there running. Dude's a soccer player. He's just running the field. Kyron, though, another huge weekend line, I think. He's had an amazing season. Green outings pretty much all season, which you love. He's a huge touchdown guy, too. But if Cooper Kupp comes back, that's all you can really ask for. Like, it's going to open up the offense tremendously. He's been limited in practice the last 2 days, but they've been really positive outings from the coaches.
Yeah, they've been saying he's in line to play. So I'd expect him out there. Even if it's on a pitch count, Cooper Kupp is still racking 6 catches.
The game he got hurt, he played 1 drive and he had 4 catches. He played 1 drive, and that's it. And he had 4 catches. So then Cooper Kupp, if he's on the field, you start Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Blake Corum, keep an eye on him. He had his most involvement of the year the last game the Rams played. I'd be stashing him up if I had an extra roster spot, especially if Kyron goes down. But, he might get more involvement going forward, so he might be a guy to keep an eye on as a potential, flex play in a desperate spot. Not this week, though. Going forward, he might be a guy who you could actually throw in your lineup.
It's going to be really rough. Like, he played 14% of snaps. I get it's the high, but I think they're running that one-back system that the Rams have ran forever with Sean McVay.
Kyron has injury history, though.
Oh, no, 100%. I get it, but...
I'd rather be ahead of the game.
Sometimes you don't have roster spots to be ahead of the game in fantasy football.
That's why I said if I had a roster spot, I'm going to give it to Blake Corum.
Yeah, but there's so many guys out there I'd rather just have on my team.
Kansas... Oh, well, who wins? The Rams.
The Rams.
Yeah. Okay. Kansas City travels to San Francisco. They take on the 49ers, an over-under of 47. The Niners are 1.5-point favorites at home. Super Bowl rematch. This should be a great game. Both of our quarterbacks are in this game, start of the week. Yep. You, Patrick Mahomes. Me, Brock Purdy. Kareem Hunt, keep an eye on him. He He's had 2 really good games here, and then had the bye to get healthy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be back, so it'll be interesting to see how much involvement he has, how much it cuts into Kareem Hunt. Maybe CH is the starter. Who knows what Andy Reid's going to do?
I think he's going to
And
be Kareem
then
Hunt.
I keep an eye on Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
He might be the number 1 in this offense.
It trended that way versus New Orleans. He had 8 targets, 7 catches, 130 yards. If you threw a tutty in there, dude, he would have had over 30 points, dude. It would have been a tremendous outing. Like, I couldn't even tell you the last time we would have to go back to find a game Juju had this. It probably was his rookie year in Pittsburgh. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's probably his rookie year in Pittsburgh. So, and that was so long ago, dude. Like, fucking
it was
2017.
Like the stat line him and Kareem Hunt put up against the Saints, you'd have to go back like 1,200 days before either one of them did that. Yeah. Kansas City's just out here reviving dudes, just bringing them back from the dead.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, Juju or Amari Cooper? Oh, I can't believe this question in 2024.
Give me Cooper.
Okay. Juju or Jalen Waddle?
Juju. Give me Juju.
Okay. Michael Pittman?
Juju.
Demario Douglas?
Juju.
Okay.
I would put Pittman over Demario Douglas.
Okay. Christian Kirk?
Good Juju. Christian Kirk. Okay. The ceiling for Juju is way higher than a couple of those guys.
Yeah. I agreed on all of those. I would start the guys. Travis Kelce, obviously, in your lineup.
Oh, he's gonna have such a good outing since Rice is out for the rest of the year.
And then from San Francisco, it's Brock Purdy, it's Debo, George Kittle. You're gonna continue to ride the Brandon Ayuk ride.
You have to start Ayuk. Yep.
But just hope it's an Ayuk game, because like he's one of those guys, like, you don't want his game on your bench. Like, some guys you can be like, I'm fine that I had, like, if I bench Jalen Waddle and he actually goes out here and gets 8 catches for 75 yards and a touchdown, I'll be like, I'm fine with it, because there's a chance he gets 0 points.
It's the same with Calvin Ridley. I'm fine with Calvin Ridley going off on my bench. I'm not fine with Brandon Ayuk going off my bench.
Exactly. Yeah. Because Brandon Ayuk's ceiling could be 10 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Especially with no Juwan Jennings. He hasn't practiced, so he's probably not playing. Yeah. Ricky Pearsall did practice, though. So you love to see that.
Yeah, you do. So Kansas City's defense, they're really great at,
stopping the
getting
pass.
someone out of this offense. I think they're going to focus on Debo.
I agree. Him or Kittle. One of them is going to shit the bed this week.
I think they're going to try to take one of those guys out. I think it would be more so Debo, because I think Kittle can play that Isaiah Likely role, and tight ends are really bad against the Chiefs. Like, they can't phase out a tight end. So I think they're going to phase out Debo, open things up for Ayuk. I mean, you're still going to start Debo Samuel. I'm not telling you bench him.
You have to.
Because that would be asinine. And then the run game, like, if Jordan Mason's playing, you're playing him. If he doesn't, I'm not going to dabble with Isaac Guerrero. I love him, but I'm not going to fuck around with that. I'd rather
not this
find
matchup.
Someone else. Yeah.
If it was next week when they had Dallas, I would happily start Guerrero versus Dallas. You can't start him versus Chris Jones, dude. Chris Jones would is going to have a field day with Guerrero if he starts.
I'd rather start Bucky Irving, even if Rachaad White's there. I'd probably rather start Sean Tucker.
No, I think I'm out on all 3 Tampa Bay guys at this point.
So you would start Guerrero over?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe not Rachaad White, but Bucky Irving and Tucker, I'd probably start Guerrero if Mason doesn't play.
Okay.
I just really don't like the vibe in Tampa Bay with all 3 backs. They already came out and said they're going to use the hot hand for all 3. So I honestly think all 3 guys are equal guys at this point. I would bump I would bump White just a little bit because he was the guy going into the season, but not
he might
by
be the
much.
worst one.
To be honest, he might be. Yeah.
Who wins this game?
Kansas City. They're coming off the bye.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I want to pick the Niners, but
unfortunately.
Coming off the bye, hey, I just want the chance that Minnesota might be the only undefeated team left standing. Even though I don't think the Vikings are going to win this week.
It is going to be a tough outing for both undefeated teams. Minnesota versus Detroit, and then Kansas City versus San Fran.
Go down.
100%.
The New York Jets travel to Pittsburgh for Sunday Night Football. The Jets are 1.5 point favorites on the road, and over/under of 39.
Disgusting.
Davante Adams is going to play, so that'll be nice to see. It's not a situation like Amari Cooper, because we keep bringing up Cooper. He's learning a new system. Davante Adams is going to a system that is the same system he ran in Green Bay. He's with a quarterback he's been with the majority of his career, so there's familiarity there. So you're going to start Davante Adams. You're going to start Garrett Wilson. You're going to start Breece Hall. I'm not fucking around with Rodgers as a streaming option. Pittsburgh's defense is too good.
So good.
Braylon Allen. He worth flexing this week?
Not versus Pittsburgh.
I agree.
He had a tutty last week, I'm pretty sure. Without me checking his stats, he did not. He only had 8 points. His touchdown was called back. Yeah. 0.8 points. My apologies. No, definitely not versus Pittsburgh. Breece Hall, though, it's gonna be pretty brutal. Though I think he's gonna underachieve the rushing yards. That whatever his line is, I would probably go under. But I think this is one of those games he has 6-7 catches and are only takedowns.
Yeah, because TJ Watt is going to be in Aaron Rodgers' grill.
I was going to say
all game.
Pittsburgh's going to be coming fast for fucking Aaron Rodgers.
And then Pittsburgh, 4-2. Switching quarterbacks, going with Russell Wilson, probably, maybe, who knows? But,
they are.
Does Mike Tomlin just think he can't? Is 5-2 too far away from 500 for him? That he's just like, I gotta haul it back. I'd rather be 4-3.
I don't know, dude. To be honest, he might be the only coach that tells you the truth the whole time. The whole offseason, he's like, Russell Wilson's the starting quarterback. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whatever happens. Russell Wilson's the starting quarterback. It's the opportunity we're giving him. Justin Fields came out here. He's 4-2. He's looked fine. He hasn't looked great. He's looked fine. And they're just like, no, benched. 4-2. Fuck you. Russell Wilson's here. He's our quarterback. We've been saying it for months.
They do have a bye week in 2 weeks, so they got 2 games. I think Russ starts these 2 games. Yep. And if Pittsburgh loses both these games, I think they go back to Justin Fields at the bye. Now, necessarily, that might not be a great thing, because team morale is like, why'd you even switch to quarterback to begin with? So that could create problems. Though, Russell Wilson there, that helps George Pickens. Like, he should be more involved in the passing game.
You would think so.
I personally have zero interest in starting George Pickens. I would try to be trading him, moving on from him. I don't really want him on my roster. Pat Freiermuth kind of falls in the same bucket as those other tight ends, Zach Ertz, Noah Fant, all those guys. I would probably start Freiermuth over all those guys. Like, I think he would be the top of the bucket.
He's broken 10 once this year versus Indy, which is a green matchup. I guess I'd have him a little bit above Zach Ertz, I guess. Not by much, though.
Mostly because he's the second option in the offense.
Yeah. I mean,
so then,
I guess.
Najee Harris, Jets, tough matchup.
Mm-hmm. Off his best week of the year.
Yep. Jaylen Warren, he's good. He's got no injury tag, so he's deemed healthy. So we'll see his involvement going forward here. He's a guy to stash if he's out there. I know a lot of people probably gave up on Jaylen Warren. Najee Harris, tough matchup. Him or Tank Bigsby?
Give me Najee. I seen what Najee did last week.
Okay.
He was juking. He looked good last week. I think it's going to be another rough outing for Najee, but I think he can find his way into the end zone this week again.
Okay. I would go Bigsby. Just because I don't think he can find his way in the end zone.
I think the volume's going to be there. He's getting 18 carries a game. He's bound to start getting more touchdowns.
Start both defenses. I think that's
for
it.
Sure.
That's it. Who wins this game?
It's going to be an ugly, ugly game. I'm going to go with the Jets, though. I'm also leaning that way. The Russ thing, it's weird. And I love Davante Adams, so hopefully he can go off.
Yeah. All right, 2 Monday nighters. First one, Baltimore travels to Tampa, take on the Bucs. The Ravens are 3.5 point road favorites, over under a 49.5. Zay Flowers, my start of the week. Lock him in. Mark Andrews, your start of the week. I'm fine with him at tight end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're probably not finding much out there better than him. And then Rashad Bateman might be worth a deep shot. He's been involved.
He has. And Tampa is a green matchup. The last 2 weeks, he's been really good. He's got 8 targets 2 weeks ago, 4 the week last week, but he had 71 yards last week. He has 2 touchdowns on the year. He's not a terrible flex option this week, for sure.
Yeah. I'm not. He's one of those guys. Like if I'm desperate, I'll throw him in just because I think this game is going to be a shootout. I think they hit the over.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ravens are pretty easy. Lamar, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, locks. I'm fine with Bateman. How do you feel about Isaiah Likely?
Not
same bucket as those other guys?
Yeah, I was going to say, he's probably the top of those buckets. I think he has the best chance of getting into the end zone out of all those guys, just based off Tampa's a green matchup, and it's going to be a shootout, to where Pittsburgh's game is going to be a snooze fest.
And then Tampa Bay, Baker's a fine start.
Great start.
Chris Godwin, he's been great all year. Mike Evans, he's questionable. Do we finally have a Mike Evans game, or is this going to be another dud week for Big Mike?
No, I think Evans has at least 4 for 70 and maybe a tutty, which would bump him over his projection. I don't like any of the backs here, but I really like Godwin, Evans, and Baker this week a ton, dude. And by default, Kate Otten as well, just based off the passing game. I think Baker has a huge week lined up for him.
Okay. Who wins this game?
Oh, man. Give me Tampa Bay.
All right, I'm going Baltimore. All right. The Los Angeles Chargers travel to Arizona and take on the Cardinals. The Chargers are 2-point road favorites. Over under of 44. Justin Herbert, 237 passing yards last week. He broke over 200. I think it was the first time this season he did it.
It is.
Gus Edwards is out, so this is J.K. Dobbins' backfield. Your start of the week.
Yep.
Let's hope he can stay healthy handling the workload. Keep an eye on Kamani Vidal. Let's see his utilization. He scored on his first touch. A little in route they ran to him and hit him down the seam. And
good receiving catch.
Yeah.
He played 24%
in Arizona.
Snaps, so.
And then Arizona, if Marvin Harrison doesn't play, but it looks like he's going to. Michael Wilson's probably a fine plug-in spot if Marv is out. If Marv's in, I'm not starting Michael Wilson at all. Obviously, you're starting Trey McBride. And then James Conner as well. And then Kyler is a tough one to call because Kyler's been pretty bad here the last few weeks. The Chargers have a good defense. Like, I would start Brock Purdy over Kyler Murray. Yep. I would start Pat Mahomes over Kyler Murray. I would start Baker. I would start Geno. I would start Kirk Cousins. I think that's where you start to fall in the line, though, is Geno and Kirk and Kyler are going to fall in the same tier.
You start C.J. Stroud over him? Versus Green Bay?
Yes.
In the shootout? I agree.
Yeah.
I would start Love and C.J. over him as well.
Yeah. I would absolutely start Jordan Love over him.
Yep, for sure.
And then Chargers pass game. Do you fuck around with Quentin Johnston or Ladd McConkey? The Arizona gives up passing plays, so
I think Ladd's the only one I'm really looking at that's startable per se, and he's questionable to be honest. He was limited in practice Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, maybe QJ Quentin Johnston.
He looked good.
He looked good, and then he got hurt.
He did not practice. He hasn't practiced.
Okay, so Josh Palmer, baby.
No. Nah. I'm out on Palmer.
Yeah. I'm just out on the Chargers passing game. I don't think they want to pass the ball.
Exactly.
I think they want to just run this ball down Arizona's throat. Like, Kamani Vidal might be a flex play this week just because all these Chargers pass catchers are out.
I think if Vlad plays, you can start him. He had 8 targets last week versus Denver. And that's what you really like, the 8 targets. It's gone up. He's gone 6, 7, 8 in the last 3 games. I think he's the clear number 1 at this point, target-wise. He's only a good outing, though, if he gets in the end zone. He's only pulling in like 4 or 5 of these for 40 yards. So, like, his floor is 8 points. But if you add a touchdown in there, it's a good week for glad for sure.
Yeah, the only way he's getting like peppered with stuff is if this somehow becomes a shootout, and I just can't see that happening. Chargers defense been playing really well. Arizona's offense, I mean, they need it. Like Arizona, if they can get into a shootout, I think they win this game. Just because like they have more offensive firepower than the Chargers do.
If it's a shootout, Arizona can sneak away with this. Are you starting Michael Wilson in a flex even if Marv doesn't play, or if Marv plays?
Probably not.
He's had double digits 3 of the last 4 weeks. And the 1 week he didn't have double digits, he still had 7 targets.
I would rather start Rashad Bateman than Michael Wilson.
That's a rough one.
I love Michael Wilson, but I get he's the third option if you're counting Trey McBride.
I think I would lean Wilson over Bateman.
Okay. Yeah, I would say they're close, but I would go Bateman over Wilson. I'm fine starting Wilson. I would just prefer not to. Now, if Marv isn't out there, yeah, I'm plugging him in, locking him into my lineup. I've brought up like Blake Corum, stashing him, Cavani Vidal. Do the same with Trey Benson. He was on the field a bit, and James Conner left the game early with an injury, but like they were also getting blown out, so like that might have played a part in it as well. But
I think it was a little bit of both, yeah.
Yeah, if James Conner does get hurt or miss time, I do think they'll try to lean on Benson. I know DeMarcado played a bunch, but he's not a guy who can be he's not going to carry the load. I think he'll play, but it would be Trey Benson's backfield again. If you have a roster spot, you have somebody you can drop. Like say you have 2 quarterbacks and your one quarterback's had a bye, get rid of that other quarterback and stash somebody. Unless it's like, Jared Goff. Don't get rid of Jared Goff.
What if that second quarterback's Geno Smith, Theo?
Well, no. Geno Smith's a QB1 this year.
I agree. I'm looking for someone to take that guy off my hands to free up a roster spot.
Yeah. I think the Chargers win.
I'm picking the Chargers.
I want to pick the Cardinals because I love the Cardinals.
I know you do. They're bad.
But they're not great. The offense isn't going as planned. Like it's been up and down.
It has.
I'm picking the Chargers.
Give me the Chargers as well.
Yeah. All right.
We need to quick bring up that Rashid Shaheed is out for the year. We didn't bring that up.
Oh, is it season ending?
It is. It's for the 6 months. So the earliest he comes back is February. So he's out for the year.
Last I saw was they were putting him on injured reserve and they didn't have a time frame yet.
Yeah.
That's
and then it came out like an hour after that he's having a great season. It is a shame, but unfortunately he's out 4 to 6 months. So if by miracle they make the Super Bowl, he might be back.
Yeah. I don't think the Saints are going to be playing in January. I don't think they're making the playoffs.
I don't think they're playing meaningful games in December.
Yeah.
So
no. So yeah, I guess then keep an eye on Bub Means. He might be the wide receiver 2 there now going forward, and that's probably when Derek Carr comes back. He might be viable. If Spencer Rattler's there, it's not.
That is true.
But huge boost to Chris Olave. They're going to have to throw him the ball.
That is true.
That guy's probably sitting there like, fuck yeah, he paid those doctors. Tell him he can't play 4 to 6 months, baby. I need these targets.
I need the work.
I got to feed my family.
Poor Olave.
Yeah. All joking aside, it's a shame. Rashid Shaheed, we've seen the flashes, but this year he's been like putting it together more consistently, like more than just like a big game every 5 weeks. He's actually been like bringing targets in and like actually getting more targets instead of just the deep shots.
Him and Jamison Williams were having almost identical seasons. They both had a game where they shit the bed, but other than that, they were having 20-point games almost consistently. So it is a real big loss for the Saints and for fantasy guys around the world.
Yeah. All right. That's it for the podcast. Unless you got any other news you want to break on.
Denver beat the Saints in a horrendous game. Saints
is the game over? Is the game over?
33-10. Game's over.
Oh, my screen never refreshed. I was like, dude, it's the third quarter. It's 26-3.
TJ, it's almost midnight. It's not the third.
I didn't. My screen doesn't. It was refreshing before, and then it just stopped.
All right. Let's end this, Sean.
The Saints. Javonte Williams was Nick's start of the week. He tried to pull that.
I did try to pull it.
I should have started him. All right. Podcast over. Thanks, guys, as always, for listening. We'll be back on Tuesday to recap everything that happened, per usual. Twitter @DraftedUp_pod. But more importantly, rate, like, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. Tell friends, tell family, tell anybody. That's the important stuff. I care more about that. I barely even run the Twitter now. But you know where to find us. As always, thanks for listening here to the Drafted Up Podcast. Adios.
Yes, sir. Good luck, y'all. Week 7. Adios. Bye.
Skull.